And I kind of was interested in the idea of, here am I in a bright red jumper, but I was interested in the idea that I might stand in front of a background and kind of blend in, so that I wouldn't actually be terribly visible even though I was in plain sight, sort of thing. So I kind of liked those ideas, but it is partly because one feels that sometimes it's very difficult to plan a career in the visual arts. You get people very hopeful going to art college, and they don't seem to get told that actually earning a living off selling your work, or earning a living through any creative practice really is very hard. I'm Judy Clark. I'm an artist and also a designer. I live in Wiltshire, in a small village with a very nice garden. I had quite a good career in that sense. I haven't had a very hard time, because I had an exhibition in London, solo exhibition in London, within 6 months of leaving the Slade. I had a workbook bought by the Tate, which has kind of, sustained me in all sorts of ways throughout my career, when I was actually still in my early 20s. So that was, a pretty good start. And also the other thing I did when I was quite young, I went to work for a quite well-known design company. It's still there in London. I spent most of my postgraduate, most of my time as a postgraduate and stayed manically working on this job, earning money for the first time ever. We were earning decent money. Worked on an exhibition called The Environment Game, which was an exhibition of photographs and text, which was put in the Hayward Gallery. I put this here just to kind of remind me that I want to do something with it. And I'm not sure yet what, but I think I had these prints done of landscape elements. Well, they're not really landscape, textural things really in the landscape from photographs. I tend to work a little bit more with sculptural materials, but I did spend a period of time when I was down in Cornwall. The other thing about Cornwall, it's got a very powerful painting lobby, if you like. It's got a lot of, much more kind of tradition in painting than you find in London, and it's very painterly. And so I thought, well, since I'm in Cornwall and I've decided to work here for a bit, I'll have a go at painting, although it's not quite my natural medium. I've got these pieces in Portcullis House, and it was partly because I had an exhibition down in Cable Street, around 2000, about 20 years ago. And I did an installation there, and I had an architect friend, and she was one of the architects involved in the development of Portcullis House. And so she said, oh, well, we want these wall hangings for Portcullis House. So then I said, well, it's not really my sort of thing, And she said, come on, Judy, you can do this. Do you want to earn some money or don't you? But my career has been a little bit like that, in terms of it having odd little bits that pop up now and again. It's given me a foothold in design, which is one of the things that's led me to doing this design project with the tables. I think often people assume that artists sort of lie back and thoughts come to them in this kind of lofty way, and they waft around not being quite connected to the real world. I personally think that's a load of rubbish. I think being an artist makes you increasingly aware of the practicalities of having to manage your practice, and just focus. The actual time that you spend on doing top quality creative work or creative thinking is quite small.
A favourite record?
So Bob Dylan, Modern Times at the moment is one of my faves. The other thing I like from when I was much younger, Steve Miller Band, that's very good as well. And something I have just bought, and I've never bought anything from them, Scissor Sisters, very good too. Just introduced me to, this is an old favourite as well, is Gregory Isaacs, Night Nurse. I have had a great deal of pleasure, because actually it's wonderful here because you can turn the sound up max volume and nobody can hear it. It's really well insulated. A milestone. Gosh, yes, that's quite difficult, because one's life tends to be sort of a bit of a stream of consciousness. One moves to, you know, from one process to another process. The key moment really for my career was I had been at the Slade for 2 years doing a postgraduate. I hadn't been working in college very much. I'd been working at the design company that I told you about before. I'd also been working for Angela. I'd gone to Germany. I hadn't been in college very much, and I didn't actually work in college. So they didn't really know very much about what I was doing. And so when it came to the final show, they said, well, where do you want the space? And I said, I'll have that little room off to the side there. You know, they said, all right, you have that, you know, kind of fine. You've got this little room, it's about the size of this, I suppose. And I put my work up in there, and I thought they're either going to kick me out or I'm going to do really well, and I don't know which it's going to be. And there was it was an absolute kind of extraordinary moment, really. I remember seeing my tutor, Bernard Cohen was one of my tutors at the time, and I remember him standing in the middle of my room just going, with his mouth sort of open, like, I can't believe she's done this. I just can't believe she's done it, you know. And everyone was absolutely astounded because nobody really knew me at all. I hadn't been very connected to the Slade when I was there. And suddenly, everyone in London was talking about it. It was quite extraordinary. I was written up in The Guardian, I was written up in Private Eye, and the Tate piece. Well, that was later, the Tate piece of my work, but I was offered a show that same night, you know. It was like, woof, you know. And so I thought, I knew it was going to be one way or the other. It was quite a shock for my partner as well, because he was supposed to be the artist. See, I was always a student, you know. It was like all about me all of a sudden. And so anyway, so that I suppose was the pivotal moment of my career. We used to give courses in various subjects, one of which was music, and there was an annual course which had a string quartet masterclass, and part of their masterclass, they were quite a well-known quartet. They used to give a concert in the church, our little village church, for the students of the course and whoever else they could cram in. And oh God, that music was just like went straight through you. You didn't just have to sit there and absorb it, but he had a Stradivarius violin, and it was just like, oh, it went straight through you. It was just wonderful. Being an artist is something you do for the whole of your life. You might not be making art, you might not be having anything to do with the art world, but once you think like an artist, you are always somehow in practice. And I think the way I live my life is always to do with how I am as an artist, and it's always got that in the background of it. So you center yourself in your